Good morning, Gardenia! Happy Friday. You made it. What a wonderful, wonderful day. We're finally getting to the rest of the world. We've been so gosh darn Amerocentric on this show. We're going to talk about the virus which shall not be named. So we might as well start with the over the top, make sure we cover everything. YouTube disclaimer. This entire show is parody. Please, please, please don't censor us. Nothing I say is ever to be taken seriously. Don't think for yourselves. Do exactly what you're told by the authorities, and don't listen to Adam. This is just a joke. And we got some financial headlines today. Of course, everybody's following. At least all the cool kids are following the Reddit, Dogecoin, GameStop, pump and dump, manipulation, Robin Hood. We covered this yesterday, and I really like. Oh, by the way, it's Friday. We're taking calls. You can call into the show today. We've got the link in the description wherever you might be watching this. Thanks to our intrepid producer CJ and co-host Comment Jim Freedom with us today from North Dakota and Phoenix, respectively. And we are. I want to be challenged on this. I got to be honest. I haven't had the time to fully get into this story. Did I jump to conclusions? I don't know. But when I covered this yesterday, and what it looks like is, the minnows are taking on the whales of Wall Street, and they've got a way to fight back. And we're gonna all these companies that the big investment firms have bet against with their short sales, we're gonna stick it to them. And you know what? I just. You're going to beat them at their own game by giving them your money? There are going to be investors who do well due to this manipulation. There are going to be new people there but you know what? Most of the people buying up, like, I'm not saying that Wall Street isn't essentially a rigged game in a casino. In fact, I'm just underscoring that point. It seems like in all of this, a lot of sucker minnows have been presented with this delusion that by giving your money to the casino, somehow you're going to be able to beat the casino at their own game. And it's exciting to see someone try. It's exciting to see them win a battle. I don't think they're going to win the war on this. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It's always possible. It's part of what I love about doing the show and you, the viewer, and that if I'm wrong, oh, yeah. Y'all call me on it. Comment Jim Freedom is with us today in the comments, watching, putting them up on screen as we speak. Not a Trumpkin, who I happen to know is from the Phoenix area. Good morning, fellow statists. Yes, of course, Mr. Statist. Thank you very much for joining us. Slut Observer. Wait. SLUT. What? Jedi mind trick to throw off the censors. Right. Keep observing those SLUTs. Wait, Salt Lake, Utah? Did you just make it look like slut to mess with me so that I'd say slut on the air? Is that what this is about? All right, so we have a big announcement for production today in terms of the distribution of the show. Thanks to CJ. And if you want to come up and say anything about this, feel free. But CJ has created the Adam versus the Man Telegram channel. And we talk about the Telegram channel. Is that the Jedi mind trick? Okay.
We are not the libertarians that the NSA is looking for.
Yes. These are just parodyists here at Adam versus the Man. Excuse me. So what CJ has created is something you can find very easily, and I beg of you, as an active and engaged member of this audience, to help us reach you. Because if you just, I subscribe to his YouTube channel. Oh, geez, I wonder why Adam hasn't published any videos in 5 years. It's because YouTube unsubscribed you and stopped giving you the alerts. And I get the same thing on Twitter all the time. I've been enjoying Twitter lately. Quick sidebar. Videos. You can be pro-transgender people. You can be pro-trans giving you the alerts. And I get the same thing on Twitter all the time. I've been enjoying Twitter lately. Sidebar. videos. You can
keep doing the show, Adam. No, yeah, join the Telegram channel, t.me /
Hold on,
Adam
this
versus the man.
on whatever you're playing.
Is that better, Adam? All right. So Adam versus the man, public Telegram channel, t.me / Adam versus the man will take you to the new Telegram channel. See that link right there? That's a StreamYard link. If you got Telegram, you follow our channel. You're seeing when we go live. Everything's being shared there. And if you were part of it right there, following our Telegram channel at the link below, you could be easily on this show by the end of this show. So don't think you can't participate. Call-ins are welcome. And again, we are not the libertarians that the NSA is looking for.
Yeah. So I just to finish the thought, because I didn't want people to think I was going off on being transgender, trans people. Like, and you know, I've never really gotten into, you know, there's a bigger conversation. By the way, I'm just saying all this to trigger y'all so that we'll get more callers today. But no, on Twitter, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Joe Biden has appointed a woman, and I'll call her that, Rachel Levine, who is a trans woman and former, I think it was Secretary of Public Health in Pennsylvania or something like that. And now she has been picked by Biden to be the Assistant Health Secretary. And like I respect trans people. I have nothing but sympathy for the challenge. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like. Well, actually, I can. I'm actually not cisgender myself. If you couldn't tell, I'm aught gender. And if you don't know what that is, you're a bigot. Look it up. AUT gender. Yeah, I'm aught gender, and it should be obvious to any woke person, obviously. But my problem with to someone who is born in a body that they don't feel comfortable in sexually or gender wise, I have nothing but sympathy. That's a tragedy. You know, like that's something that deserves love and support. But just because you're transgender doesn't give you a pass to be an asshole. And that's what I was calling out on Twitter. And it's very easy to, apparently you can't criticize a trans person for being an asshole without being a transphobe. Why did this come up with Rachel Levine, whatever? I don't care. I don't have a problem with, and I'm not going to even misgender her. I truly, genuinely believe that a basic human courtesy is to address people how they want to be addressed, whether it's gender or title or whatever. You know, I prefer to be called sir or king or your majesty, but I'm not going to be a dick about it if you call me he, him. Heck, if you call me a pussy, I'm not going to go, oh, how dare you misgender me, right? No, but I don't care about that stuff. You know, and the libertarian position is pretty clear. As a libertarian, you have the right to whatever medical treatment you want, to dress however you want, to call yourself whatever you want, and I totally respect that. In fact, in a sense, for the people who are out and trans and not dicks about it, I genuinely have more respect for them than the average human being, because it does take a certain amount of courage. I'm not talking about what was the guy the woman who was on the cover of Vogue. I'm so glad that I've forgotten her name. The one with the Kardashians. They you know, that one. No, not that celebrity. Oh, look at me, kind of. But no, to be trans and to handle it, and to defend your community. Yeah, respect. But it seems like there are a lot of people who are just white knighting for trans people. Wait, shit, is that what I just did? There are a lot of people on Twitter who see me calling out Rachel Levine, and my tweet was actually, I mean, I gotta say this, because I'll just quote myself, because this is fun. This triggered a lot of people. Oh geez, it's so down my feed now in all my responses to the trolls. But I'll say there's someone called me out that, and by the way, I've said this before, I have a problem with obviously unhealthy, overweight people trying to give healthy people fitness advice or health advice in general. I mean, the hypocrisy of that should rub everyone the wrong way. Now I'm gonna play some weird cards here. I'm not racist because I have black friends. I'm not transphobic because I have trans friends. I'm not a fat shamer because I have fat friends. But if any of my fat friends ever tried to tell me to be more like them and follow their health advice, they wouldn't be my friends anymore. So there's a difference between fat shaming and hypocrisy shaming. But my tweet about Rachel Levine was, come on, guys, we shouldn't make fun of Secretary Levine for being trans. That deserves sympathy. We should call her out for being another overweight and unhealthy bureaucrat trying to give us medical advice. That deserves scorn and ridicule until it stops. And there is a dangerous kind of cultural habit that we've fallen into in the United States of, oh, they're in a politically protected class, therefore they are immune from scrutiny and criticism. And it's like, no, bullshit. Because that's a kind of manipulation that just allows people to get away with evil shit. And if you're working for the federal government as a as a health official, especially in this age of COVID when government is screwing up national health so badly, scorn and ridicule. I mean, maybe not ridicule, scorn, criticism, in a loving way. But if you're trying to do that, no, get out of here. Get out of here with that crap. And if you're trying to say, oh, you can't be critical of Rachel Levine because she's trans, so you can't point out that she's fat because trans people have issues with. No. Anyway, fun Twitter storm lately. But as I was the point about, I was actually making a useful production point before that, sidebar rant, that hate-filled, transphobic, whatever I just said. But no, this is this is an important issue. But more importantly, I was talking about the censorship, and censorship is what governments do when their lies wear thin. And for all the censorship we're seeing, I am all the more encouraged that we are on the verge of a significant, I hate to say, a great leap forward. We do have a China block today, but we are getting past so much right now. There is so much revelation that we have experienced in the age of the internet. So much has been revealed to humanity. We are capable of addressing our problems and healing them and healing ourselves like never before. So while it's tempting, I'm so frustrated constantly by the censorship and demonetization, and to put so much time and effort into this production and then to have your legs cut out from underneath you. It's a kick in the nuts. Let's mix some more metaphors in here. It hurts. That's why this Telegram chat, this Telegram broadcast channel now for Adam versus the Man, I think is so important. And I would really, again, CJ, put that link up on screen right there. It's t.me/Adam versus the Man. We got that link on screen. Let's hold that up there for a while because, and you know what, we do have today, we got a bit of a financial block to cover what's going on with Reddit and Doge and GameStop and Robinhood. But then the main thrust of today's show, we got an international block. So believe it or not, there it is. Thank you very much, CJ. AVTM public Telegram channel, t.me/Adam versus the Man. Get on there. Help us develop this as I'd like to say untouchable means of communicating without censorship, because it's just a direct messaging platform essentially. But when we're going to get into this more Monday, we've got a big social media tech censorship block. And even Telegram is under threat right now, and that's kind of scary. So Jim and CJ and some select members of the Adam versus the Man Producers Club will be in this Telegram channel, making sure that you get all of our content despite the censors and critical information about the news and what's going on in your world and the ways to live better by living more free. So with that, let's get Comment Jim Freedom up on stage here. Oh, these are more comments. The emperor has no clothes, David Anderson. Exactly. Now, Jim, Oh, Mad American. Did you know the most radical thing you do is grow your own food? Yes, yes. Thank you. I've been saying this. Grow vegetables, not government. Okay, I got it from a meme, and I think that's a bumper sticker too. But the is everything okay with Jim? It seems like we're on a bit of a delay here. Yeah, there he is. All right, so Jim, how you doing this morning, brother?
Not too bad, not too bad. Falcor's barking around and being distracted, so that was what I was doing.
Well, his sister was doing the same thing here, but Marilyn is now asleep on the couch. Hopefully for the next 2 hours.
yeah. Falcor won't be asleep. He's up and active. He's in monitor mode. I left the door open, so once I get up, close the door, I'll be fine. But other than that, he patrols the house, making sure people people walk outside. You know, he likes letting them know he's here.
So, Jim, did I trigger anybody talking about trans issues there, or is the Adam versus the Man audience beyond being triggered by stupid shit?
There's Tasman69 Slots and More says, don't say the T word or you'll get banned if you say his name and he's the former president.
Oh, man. Fun story I noticed on Drudge today. And this is the kind of thing it's like fun, maybe, but not the most consequential of stories. Apparently, a former KGB spy saying that Trump has been groomed for 40 years. And you go, yeah, well, we knew that he's been groomed by the elites, the super class, the bankers who have sponsored him this entire time. He's not, Trump can't be bought because he's been bought from the beginning. But yeah, fun story. But no, is that we can't talk about Trump anymore? There is a weird effort, I think, by the establishment of the New Democrats to kind of write Trump out of the history books or out of the conversation, at least not to forget him, but to be remembered as, hey, remember that time we tried something different and we didn't elect a career politician that has sold us out from Vietnam to anti-crime bills to supporting the banking class and TARP and bailouts and stimulus of major corporations like Biden? Remember when we tried a reality TV star instead? That went really bad. Let's stick with the professional politicians. You know, like that. I think I said this from the beginning with Trump, right? That's going to be the narrative afterwards. We'll see how true that is in the next, in the next year.
See if you get your "I told you so" in the next year.
Every show, man. Every show. Every day. Man, the worst part about being a libertarian is watching the news or reading the news every day and going, man, I told you so. Look, I told you. Man, if they would just listen to the libertarians. Oh my God, I told you so. But yeah, it's a cross I'm happy to bear.
Yeah, definitely. There's a Darren Stanley in the comments who has a suggestion on a cryptocurrency. It's a 3-part comment. He says, hey, Adam, longtime listener. If you get any free time, you should check out one of the newest, best private cryptocurrencies on the free market called Epic Cash. Explore epic.tech. You ever heard of Epic Cash? I was curious.
No, and you know what? I appreciate the comment, and I appreciate people saying, hey, let's give advice and use this as a forum to clue people into new things. 100% love that. But when I hear someone, oh, this cryptocurrency, it's the next best thing. Okay. You can include in one sentence why. Like promoters of Bitcoin Cash, and this is one of the big divides in the community. Okay, so Epic Fund Me. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the follow-up, Darren. This is great. Epic Fund Me was made for content creators like yourself. Okay, well, we got LBRY, interview Max Freeman of Epic Cash. Done. We will, yeah. And if someone's creating a new crypto project, yeah, happy to have them on to talk about it. We'll do it. So duly noted. But I just want to point out for the rest of the audience, this is how a lot of crypto scams have started. Like, oh, hey, we got this new coin and it's new and therefore you should buy it. And I don't want to say that I was immune to this temptation, but I followed Bitcoin from the very early years. I was one of the first promoters of it. I was one of the first, one of the early promoters at least. Going back to 2011, I think I mentioned it. When people go, oh my gosh, they made this code and then they became billionaires. I could do that. And pretty soon there was a website. You could just type in the name of your crypto coin and how many coins you wanted in parameters, and it spat out your blockchain. And everybody's like, Adam, you got to create a new coin. You got to have Adam versus the man coin and freedom. And why? Another gimmick? Another way to rip people off? Another overly complicated, deceptive way to fundraise? No, not going to fall for that. And if you, and I'm not making any judgment on Epic. Like I'm just, someone's innovating to create a crypto system for creators. Cool. I'm going to give it a serious look. But there have been thousands, if not tens of thousands now, new cryptocurrencies because it's that easy to create one. We've got a blockchain photocopier website out there, and every would-be scammer in the world heard the Bitcoin story years ago and was like, ooh, I could do that.
I'm going to create my own and see if it blows up.
Yeah,
is that what's going on with Dogecoin?
Doge. Yes, we're gonna. You want to do this together, Jim, and then we'll get to our big internet, and we'll take a call, and then do the international block because this is kind of a discussion story. The first headline I've got here is CNBC. Wait, hold on. Really? No one was triggered by me ranting about transgenders, or even admitting that I'm transgender. That's the first time I've ever admitted it publicly, by the way.
Many people may have missed that. I think everybody was just kind of enjoying it. There was another comment. There's a lot of comments, so I'm trying to find it. Oh yes, Andrew said I had no idea she's transgender till now. Like he didn't even realize. He don't care.
Yeah, and I didn't until I saw this as a story, and then I saw it. I'm like, why are people? I mean, at first I was like coming to her defense. Like I was really like, wait, she's a federal government bureaucrat paid for with stolen money, handing down mandates that are fucking with people's health. Why not make fun of her for that instead of her health condition? Or the fact that she's overweight and that there is a bit of a hypocrisy element to this whole thing. Like, no, if you can't follow advice, don't take advice from people you don't want to emulate, right? And that's the point I was making. But man, did that trigger all of these white knights on the on the internet,
on the interwebs.
Yeah, but does anybody know what odd gender means? Because I am actually I do believe I am odd gender.
I have no idea. What is that?
No, I'm gonna look it up because I want to make sure I get it right. No, but it's
you're gonna look up what you are.
Yeah, no. Okay. According to Queer Undefined, a term for when a person perceives that their experience of gender is influenced by their autism. Oh yes, I'm on the spectrum.
How can a gender be influenced by autism? I don't understand.
Yeah, me neither. But the label fits me. My sense. I can't call myself male anymore because my experience of being male is clearly influenced by my experience being autistic.
Oh.
So I'm not a man anymore. I'm sorry, guys. I cannot. In good woke conscious, identify as a man. I'm definitely odd gender, and we need to have our own athletic leagues because we are really special. In the Producers Club, by the way, it looks like CJ created a Producers Club identity, and now he's in. Wait, or is that you?
No, I think it's CJ. Yeah.
CJ has named himself the AVTM Producers Club?
Nope, not true. If you're an admin, because Jim made us admins, now we are actually representing the entire name as compared to the people that are in there. But again, hey, there is a public chat again, so we're following it. If you're not thinking Adam doesn't see these Telegram chats, Telegram is exclusively what we're using. So again, that's the link. Yes, you do need a phone number, but Adam, I was going to tell you, you've done really well explaining how people can get around that phone number issue if that's what's the catch for them joining our Telegram group. So
yes.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, Telegram, you can create your own account very easily with a phone number, and it just shows, like me, I'm not secretive about that. It shows up on Telegram. But Telegram does give you the opportunity or the option to create one independent of that. And if you want to figure it out, it's not difficult. In the Producers Club, and by the way, if you want to join the actual Producers Club, patreon.com/Adam versus the Man, which you can find from AdamVersusTheMan.com, which is the link underneath this link hidden. But yeah, AdamVersusTheMan.com. Check out the store. Awesome merch. Support us there. Support us with Patreon. But in the Producers Club, Craig asks, what's Adam's take on trans people competing in sports? And I gotta say, I'm a South Park fan. The Strong Woman episode was great at examining and skewering and making light of a lot of the challenges around transgenders in sports. Now, the thing is, ultimately, there is an ethical libertarian answer to this question. Well, should trans people be allowed to participate in sports? Who has a right to stop them? The answer is always let the market decide, right? So if a league says we're going to stop you, they have a right to do that because it's their property, it's their operation, right? So if I'm here in Gardenia hosting a co-ed beach volleyball tournament and we have a men's and a women's division, am I going to care if a trans guest of mine here wants to compete if it's a man identifying as a woman wants to compete with the women? Yeah, I don't. Nah, sure, it's fun. I don't care. It's not. You're not a physical threat to any women. You're not going to spike a volleyball with extra force onto someone's head. But if you're a man identifying as a woman and you maintain the advantages of being born as a male and that physique, and you just say, well, I identify as a woman because I want to go beat up on women. Yeah, that's messed up. So government should have nothing to do with it. When I say let the market decide, should the NFL let women identifying as men, or just let women play in the, as far as I know, the NFL doesn't have a gender rule. I don't know, maybe they do. But I've never heard of a woman, maybe it's my own ignorance, trying to 1054, got to change the show name to Adam versus the Person now. Well done. Comment of the day. You're already a Producer Club member, aren't you? All right. So yeah, comment of the day, caller of the day, top super chat can all win membership in the Producers Club today. But to this issue of trans in sports, if there is a government mandate or some central planning mandate, even from a private organization pushed down to say, oh no, if you identify as a woman, we're going to let you participate in women's sports. I think there's going to be a significant market response of women athletes saying, okay, we're going to create a new organization where it's born as women athletes competing. Okay, we're going to have to put in born as somewhere in the fine print. And if that's how, it plays out, okay. In terms of my personal preferences, it's kind of irrelevant because I'm not a sports fan. I like playing sports, not watching sports. I don't believe in the and I get that there are some people who, from watching sports, it's entertaining, and I can sit down with somebody and have a beer and watch a game and enjoy the athleticism and the entertainment value. And I get that people get things like that out of sports fandom. But there are so many other negatives to the way that we do sports in the world today that are more of a reflection of statism and tribalism and warfare culture, militarism, than an actual celebration of athletic competition. Oh, and of course, celebrity culture, corporatism, commercialization. And I am definitely against how we do sports as a whole in the world today, at least in that professional category. So I actually kind of like watching the delusions implode by professional sports facing this challenge of the transgender issue. Because I think what a lot of people get out of professional sports fandom is unhealthy. They get it's a coping mechanism. If you're insecure, if you and holy crap, how many Americans graduated from government schools where they were taught what to think, not how to think, where they had the creativity and individuality beaten out of them. And so there's something in the human spirit that is deficient as a result of that experience, as a result of general social condition, especially through education systems of government, that then craves acceptance. It craves belonging. It craves connection and community when a healthier form of that connection is denied them. And so in a sense, professional sports fandom and like worship of the celebrity culture around sports is a kind of emotional, psychological, social crutch. And hey, we're gonna take away the crutch, and then your leg's gonna heal, because it's the kind of crutch that if you stay on that, you're never gonna heal. And when people go, wait, trans in sports? Well, we couldn't have that because that would ruin my wait. What is it ruining? Oh, it's ruining my weird psychological from watching sport. Wait, why? So like with football, and by the way, if you want to look back at my YouTube channel, I think if you search gay football, yeah, gay football, you'll find a video about this where I go off in greater detail. The idea that why do we have so few openly gay football players, right? Why is it so important in football? And it's not unique this way, but it is one of a few professions still where it is hugely disadvantageous to be gay. And it's not because of the players. By the way, if you've ever been in the military or you've ever been on a high school or college sports team, you have showered with a gay dude. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's not they don't care. Why? Why is it so hard to be an out gay or queer of any kind professional athlete, and football players in particular? Well, with football, there's a militarism as well. Obviously, there's a lot of mock combat in football, right? Analogies about warfare and killing and the enemy and gaining ground and territory and things like that, which means that there is a certain psychological payoff for the beta male football fans who need the psychological gratification of feeling like they're part of a masculine collective. If there's a gay player on the team, that illusion isn't as strong. Well, I'm a fan of this team, and look at all these macho dudes. I'm a part of their team. And you see this in the way people talk about sports. We won. Oh, yes, we won the Super. You were there. You're on the team. No. It's like patriotism, right? As Doug Stanhope said, makes you hate people you've never met and take credit for things you had nothing to do with. So that's, I think, the bigger issue with trans in sports is that it's calling humanity to have a more reasonable, psychologically healthy attitude towards sports in general, and getting away from tribalism and hatred and commercialization and celebrity worship and things like that. And I know this is probably going to trigger me talking shit about professional sports is going to trigger more people in my audience than talking about trans rights in general. I know. So we're going to have fun with the comments today. But Jim, get yourself back up on stage here, and I want to cover this with you. This now that people know my true gender identity. Let's talk about the big financial story of the day, shall we? Have you been following the GameStop, Reddit, Robinhood saga?
Yes, very lightly. I'm not a rich guy, and I'm not becoming rich off of it, so I've only been reading bits and pieces here and there. Yeah.
So is there a part of you that's like tempted to be like, yeah, stick it to the man, buy those stocks?
Well, I've basically been reading, and other people have been posting too, about how it's good, rallying because the people are screwing over the hedge funds, the millionaires or whatever. I wasn't standing up cheering, and I didn't get any overwhelming, yes, this is so good feelings, because it's like I said, it's a bunch of money moving around, and it ain't got nothing to do with me. I ain't getting no piece of it. So what's it got to do with me? Some pretty well off, intelligent people that on this side got a bunch of money from a bunch of well off people on this side. I don't know. Like
well, I think
it's a
you're
little bit
missing
more
something.
organic than that. I understand, you
Right,
know, right.
right,
But
right.
and it's not necessarily just rich
Minnows.
people taken from other rich people. I'll say this. I immediately was filled, maybe this is just pessimism, but I immediately was filled with like, well, that's probably only going to happen once. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
rich
right. Well, there's
hedge
that
funds
too.
are all going to figure out a new rule that can never happen again. You know what I mean? If we
Yeah.
and they've
Well,
already been doing it. I mean, Robinhood is facing the lawsuit now because they literally. I mean, how unfair is that? That is obviously
it's a
unfair,
fraud.
and what's happening is absolutely wrong, and we
Yeah.
should be pissed. But
So yeah, let me. Okay, so comment on this MCC. I like the part where it says he showers with gay guys. Okay, I am not currently showering at all. I'm in my studio and I'm dry, and my shower is a one-person stall, and I suppose you could clown car a bunch of gay dudes into there, but that's not my thing. I'm like I said, I'm aught gender. It's different. Okay, respect my gender identity. I'm not gay. All right. So the Jim, to what you said there, like if I want to be as positive about this as possible from a freedom perspective, I would say that they may have exposed a vulnerability in the system where hedge funds were ripping off small investors by manipulating the short sales market. And they exposed that and they made this play with all these small investors throwing millions of dollars into GameStop. But like that's not really the answer to the problem here at all. Like and I will still celebrate if, hey, Wall Street is a slightly less vicious racket because this particular aspect of their vulnerability in the short sales market had to be corrected. But you're going to stick it to the man by giving the man your money. No, I'm not buying it. But there are going to be, I think, some, again, I mean, I say this about a lot of stories. There's going to be something coming out about this behind the scenes later, that there was some other I mean, if you're GameStop, if you're one of the owners, the main stockholders of GameStop, and you see that the hedge funds have decided your company's done, and you go, oh, well, let's trick a bunch of Redditors into buying our stock. Watch to see who sells. None of these small investors, I don't say none, but the majority of these small investors are going to lose out. The people who are going to profit are the ones who run the system. The people who get commissions on trades, they will always profit. And so this is where I appeal to the audience to like test me on this. Is my conclusion correct here? Is there some bigger positive element to this that I'm missing? And I will say there I guess the other positive element I have to point out of the way people are coming together and what this shows is possible with the internet tactically is definitely very positive. So any comments on that, Jim?
yeah, no, I agree with that completely. It's that'd be the positive to take from it is the organization and the people starting to realize that massive movements can actually impact world change or large enough change that it gets
Yes.
noticed worldwide. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
yeah, that's a
Which
big
is why
positive.
we should put the same effort into pumping crypto, right? Like, hey, or I shouldn't say pumping crypto because that's almost barely a little narrow here. Pumping non-fiat currency, pumping financial conscientiousness, being woke as a conscientious consumer about what money you use and how you store your wealth, however that may be, whether it's crypto or gold and silver under your bed or buried in a bucket in some undisclosed location that no one will ever find, right? Something like that. But there are a couple wrinkles to the story. One, as you pointed out, there's the response by the system to protect its racket, right? It was this Robinhood. Let the people trade. Oh, we're not like that.
That way.
No, not like that. No. When we said let the people trade, we meant let us rip you off and give us your money. So we're going to fix it and we're going to go back to that. But now there's a related thing, and this is CNBC has this headline: Reddit frenzy pumps up Dogecoin. A cryptocurrency started as a joke by over 800%. And I've always been a fan of Doge. I wish I was holding some now, but I would sell because this is an obvious bubble. This is not like, and I'm not pretending to be, this is not investment advice, YouTube, okay? YouTube censors specifically. I don't pretend to know enough to give you like specific investing advice or for your situation or for this goal, but invest in things of real value. If you want to invest in things that are speculative, like, and by the way, I made a lot of money when I got out of jail in 2013 because I was day trading crypto on BTC-E.com, the Russian website. Later went down. Runners, the operators were arrested, and who knows how that all played out. But just trading between 8 different cryptos, I was able, and this is when Bitcoin was just around $800 a Bitcoin. You remember when Bitcoin was under 1,000? Yeah, weren't those the days? I was able to double my holdings in 2 weeks just day trading between those currencies. But man, why did I stop? Because it took over my brain. Like I was on my phone every 30 minutes checking crypto prices. Did this move? Is there an opportunity here? Is this developing? Is this a trend? And if you want to play that game and you're in a sense serving an essential market function of price discovery, but that kind of instability in markets that makes that possible is really only because of government manipulation. In the crypto sphere, that's not the case because it's just that it's new and there were a lot of speculators jumping in and a lot of people investing unwisely. Wise investment is looking at something that you think is actually going to grow in value over time. And you're putting your money into something. You are giving someone your money. You are adding value to a company, to a corporation, a business, or a crypto, or an asset even, or an operation. And in and of itself, that is a vote. Vote with your dollar. That is an expression of preference, and you are helping shape the market. And it's fun to watch all the GameStop, Dogecoin, everything Reddit-based bubbles, but people are going to be pissed. Here's a safe prediction. Most people involved in this are going to lose money and they're going to be upset. And I think it's going to set the general, it's going to be a double-edged sword, right? People are going to be encouraged by what is possible, but they're also going to be pissed in terms of how this actually worked out. So the other headline on this that I have to share from Bloomberg via MSN.com, Bitcoin investors may lose everything, central banker warns. Oh, really? Really? If I go to your competitor, it might be bad for me? Shocking, right? Bitcoin investors need to be prepared to lose all their money, European Central Bank Governing Council member Gabriel Makhlouf said, the latest warning from a central banker on the cryptocurrency. And it's like, well, remember the bailouts or the bail-ins from Greece? Where they just said, oh, you know how you had that money in your checking account? Now you don't. It's ours. Fuck you. Can't really do that with crypto. It's harder, at least. If you want to protect your money from the institutions that are designed to steal it from you, take the opposite of the advice from these criminals. And this is a central banker. Well, gee, we've been living under central banks for how long? And how was that done for egalitarian economics? Oh no, it's the super rich have gotten a lot richer at the expense of everybody else. Yeah, let's stop taking advice from those people, shall we?
For sure. So I think you've answered this question before, but we got a comment bringing up a point I want you to repeat since we're on the topic. Mr. Lock and Load 6, he says if they shut down the internet, crypto is kind of useless.
Yes and no, because when you say they shut down the internet, if they shut down central servers, it's going to accelerate the development of mesh nets, which have actually already been proven to be possible with current technology. Incidentally, back to Greece, back to when they were shutting down the internet around the bail-ins. A lot of people in Greece said, we still want access to the internet, still want to talk to each other. And decentralization, again, crypto and blockchain making this possible. You don't need a central server with a decentralized internet. And that's what we're working towards. If they really shut down the internet, do you think people would put up with that? Do you know the song from Avenue Q about the internet, Jim?
No, not.
I wonder if I can play this without getting pinged. I'll do it like through my speakers for I don't know, maybe we won't get triggered. I can't believe I haven't played this clip on the show yet. So
that I like what Danny Finch points out here. Kind of, I think you kind of said the same thing. The stock manipulation has been a big red pill to a lot of my friends on how protected the rich are from consequences and how the government is corrupt.
Yes. Thank you, Danny, and for pointing that out, Jim. That there's a positive element of this story that I missed. Is that for all the people who are going to be pissed off, the big silver lining is, I mean, for a lot of us, like, okay, so Danny, I assume you're watching this and going, oh, people on Reddit want me to buy stock in their company, GameStop, that they like. No, but have fun with that, guys, right? Because we know better. And so will they very soon.
Yep. Right. Well, that was a fun block. Do we have another block going on? Craig is right, obviously. Never believe a central banker.
Mm-hmm.
You can listen to them so that you know what to do the opposite of, right?
Yeah, right. All right, well, I'm not getting this video. For some reason, the video is not loading for me, so I'll just subject you all to my terrible singing. But Avenue Q is one of my favorite musicals. As you know, us Opgenders are we're big fans of musicals in general, certainly in the South Park tradition. And Avenue Q has this great number called "The Internet is for Porn." The internet is for porn. Okay, I'm just going to sing one line. I think the point has been made. But there are so many things that we have come to take for granted about the internet, right? Do you have to remember where you live anymore? CJ's got it. Give us a little audio. Give us like 15 seconds. That's allowed, isn't it?
Yeah, he has to re-bring it up and click the share audio button.
Okay. So whether it's navigation, I mean, you don't even think about, how's navigation? Do we have navigation covered? Yeah, you have a smartphone in your pocket and Google Maps or Waze or whatever. All right, here we go. No audio here.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear any audio from it either. Maybe it worked.
All right, maybe it was on the broadcast. That's okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we don't like navigation, shopping, research, porn. You know, I mean, every man now has every sexual fantasy he could imagine at his fingertips. And if you take that away, as we saw in the Arab Spring in Egypt, you're going to have a lot of angry young men in the streets with time on their hands and anger to vent. They will never shut down the internet entirely. And even if they try, it'll only accelerate the development of mesh nets. So I hope that thoroughly answers the question. Shall we get to our international? Well, let's take a call, because I have one sort of general story, and then we're going to jump into this. Well, I've got a few international stories about the virus. Which
we're not ready for that just yet. And our caller wants to be the last caller of the day, the one that's backstage, that's planned. He requested to be the last caller of the day. So I still have one more question about that crypto and that internet and the mesh nets and everything, though.
All right, we can accommodate that caller.
Right. Okay. So as far as the crypto goes, if they shut down the mainstream servers and we had to switch over to mesh nets and everything, when you get on the new mesh net, is everybody like everybody that was doing well on Bitcoin and had lots of Bitcoin, are they going to have to start over in that mesh net, or
no?
Is it
blockchain. Yeah. So important thing to understand is that you switch to mesh nets, that you will still have crypto miners maintaining the blockchain by consensus, which is already not dependent on central servers. That's one of the things that why crypto is so integral to this technology, because it's already decentralized. if we could have all of the internet functions decentralized the same way that crypto is, then you'd have no censorship and you would still have the integrity of the blockchain. And I don't want to get too sidetracked on this, but the blockchain as an immutable ledger is a consensus data set, right? And why do you have Bitcoin on your phone? They're not on your phone. Your phone contains the code that's the claim that is recognized by this blockchain, this giant data set that says, yes, when that code is entered, this person or this device owns those coins. It gets abstract really quick, but you don't have to understand the technicals to understand the functions and the potential for blockchain and why it's worth. And this is where I will give you investment advice, not as an investor or professional. This is not investment advice, YouTube censors. God, I can't believe I have to still say that all the time. More now than before, actually. My advice is invest conscientiously. And one of the downsides of investing in crypto is that it's not as easy as buy gold, bury it, or put it in a safe, right? You have to sort of manage that investment or monitor it. But there are some easy ways with cold storage. You can, take your code off of any device, put it on a QR code on a coin. You can sort of convert it to a physical asset that way, although it's not exactly true that it's a physical asset, but it can be the only claim to your crypto on the blockchain is now, attached to a coin or something physical. You can create a wallet and write down your access, 12-word key and put that on a piece of paper and bury that and destroy all the devices. And as long as that blockchain still exists by the consensus of the network, your code to claim that money is still good. Does that help, Jim?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. That makes perfect sense. So, and on that note, we have a new caller that just
all right in. Let's go to our caller then. Ladies and gentlemen, first caller on this Friday show. Welcome. How you doing?
Good. How are you? I've been watching you for a while now, since 2011. And,
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You have a very good outlook on everything. But what do you think about this new presidency? Do you think it's actually going to come together, or do you think it's just going to fall apart?
Well, can you define fall apart and come together in that sense?
The Democrats are trying to make this country into a socialist country.
More socialist.
More socialist.
Okay, so is it going to come together in terms of being able to further the agenda of centralization and control and socialism?
Right.
Okay. Yes and no, and there is a certain social paradigmatic, in the public paradigm, momentum of support for the current status quo of socialism, and it's not even socialism; it's communism. You've heard me say this, right? 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. Most of them are in effect fully, and the rest partially, with U.S. federal policy right now. So the question isn't like, is it socialism or communism or fascism? But the Biden administration's agenda is to serve the super rich, right? Serve the super class. Keep the super rich getting richer at the expense of the rest of us. And there is a huge amount of institutional momentum behind all the ways that government does that and serves its core purpose, obviously defending its main racket of the central banks. So to the Biden administration, this 4-year period going to do that? I would say yes, and I think it's going to be somewhat more effective than the Trump administration in doing so, because the whole play of Trump was, a big excitement, drama, conflict, a lot of insulting language. There was a degradation of the courtesy of the conversation in American politics. And the lesson is that they want you to take from this is trust the professional politicians. Go back to sleep. Biden's got this. So to answer your question, in the immediate future, as in the next year at least, definitely. Biden is going to successfully grow government, do his job, service sponsors at the expense of the American people. And you say, will it fall apart? That's the important question, right? That's the exciting question that we all want the good answer to. How can we accelerate it falling apart? Remember that the Federal Reserve has the best mathematicians and propagandists that money can buy, and they are very intent on defending their racket. But also, humanity has overcome so much that the idea of central banks leading us to some dystopian future of tyranny seems unrealistic, especially with crypto and everything that we're able to do in resisting this now, and the fact that confidence in the system is at an all-time low. Censorship is at an all-time high, because the lie is wearing thin, and the lie is that big centralized government is good and necessary, right? One way, I'm not saying that's the only big lie, but that's like one way of capturing the big lie that is wearing thin right now. And will it come to a breaking point in the administration of Joe Biden in the next 4 years? I think that's a little optimistic. I wouldn't say, is it Biden or not? I look at the system as a whole and say, yeah, the destabilization is pretty exciting right now. Is it going to lead to a fundamental shift in the next 4 years? I would bet against it. I would, if I had to bet, I would say Biden will be able to carry out his term and more or less maintain the overall integrity, I mean, like structural integrity of the federal government. They have no moral integrity, if that wasn't obvious enough, right? So does that answer your question? I think like sometime in the next 10 to 20 years, if there's no other major shift, there's going to be some point of things falling apart. But I think it's got enough momentum to make it through the next 4 years. I hope it doesn't. I hope I'm wrong on this count.
I hope you are too, because the way the country's going now, this wasn't the country that I love.
Well, let me ask then, if you, because there is a major shift on the horizon. It's coming.
Right.
This system, as is, not sustainable. That I think we can all agree on. And I'm doing everything I can to prove myself wrong on this point. I hope you appreciate that. I want to be wrong. I really want to be wrong. I want Gardenia's sovereignty to be respected. I want the federal government to dissolve tomorrow. I want decentralization, localization. I want crypto and to displace fiat currency as soon as possible. Do you see any particular weakness in the Biden administration that might be exploited to accelerate this collapse or transition?
Yeah, because Biden, he's mentally incapable of running this country because he can't put a full sentence together 4 times on national TV. He had, when he was running for president, he literally sat there and said that I am proud to be running for state senate 4 different times on national TV, and I'm yelling at the TV, you dumb mother effer, you're running for president. So
yeah,
Biden is worse than
yeah. So I've made,
and Pelosi pulls the strings for Biden.
Well, who pulls her strings?
Nobody.
Oh, maybe you think you give? Yeah, it's an interesting question. I've never delved into Nancy Pelosi personally. Like, is she an independent actor or is she just another puppet? That's an interesting question to ask. But let me go back to your point here. Presidents don't really run the country in any meaningful way, right? I mean, they're front men for the system more than operators. And in that sense, you're right. Biden's, and like I said, I've made political gaffes. I've misspoken. when I was running for president and had to say the word president, a million times in a year, I misspoke, but I caught myself and oh yeah, okay. With Biden, you go, yeah, there's a bigger pattern here, and the pedophilic kitty hair sniffing and shoulder rubbing and all that. You're like, does he not know that he's on camera? Yeah, I think in a lot of those situations, like they're taking pictures, right? They're taking portraits following swearing in ceremonies. And he's probably thinking, oh, well, I'm going to smile and make sure I look good when the camera clicks, and isn't thinking, oh, yeah, there's someone videotaping the whole thing, too. And that's why we have this series of, I don't want to call him a pedophile because that may be presumptuous, but certainly pedophilic gestures and touching with kids and comments, very inappropriate. And you're right. You are absolutely right. Thank you for pointing this out, that Biden's mentally diminished capacity may be a thread to pull to unravel at least one sweater of bullshit. But then the immediate consequence is going to be President Harris.
Right. And she Pelosi, excuse the phrase, little bitch.
It's you two. They don't care if you say fuck, only if you say fuck the government. Oh, whoops.
Oh, okay. I mean, like I said, Biden is mentally unstable. He cannot complete a full sentence. I mean, even when he's reading from the teleprompter, he forgets what the hell he's talking about.
Well, yeah, I think you're exaggerating just a little bit there, but your point is still very, very well taken. And yeah, more importantly, he's on a decline, right? He's not going to get whatever juice, pills they could pump into him to keep his brain functioning and his body propped up. He got as a senator. He got as the nominee. It's not like he's missing some miracle drug that costs $1 million they're going to give him and he's going to be back to full function. No, it's going to be that's how human brains work, at least with today's technology. Until we get nanobots to replace individual brain cells, they just go.
Right.
There's regeneration and adaptation, not at his age. So when Joe Jorgensen was running against Biden and Trump, I actually suggested that we start a super PAC to raise money to have them actually take a side-by-side intelligence test, all three of them. Surprise, surprise, it didn't happen.
He wouldn't be able to pass a 5th grade biology test now.
All right. Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, quick reminder from Jim there on the screen. All right. Sorry. Back to you, sir.
Thank you for taking my call.
Well, thank you for the insight. And I hope that anybody listening sees that there may be a strategic exploit here.
You have a good day.
All right, you too, sir. All right, let's do one more headline here before we get to our big. This is kind of an international story. CNBC.com. Another consequence of the virus which shall not be named, a world without cash. Amid the crisis, coronavirus. I'll just call it that. That's different. The coronavirus is something totally different, obviously. Amid the coronavirus crisis, Americans are abandoning cash almost entirely in favor of tap and go transactions. Experts say that the growing trend of contactless payments is here to stay even when the pandemic is over. Now, libertarians will inherently have mixed feelings about this, right? Because, pre-crypto, there was no secure digital way to move money. And if you wanted to move money in a way that was private and secure, whether it's for legitimate or illegitimate means, the only thing you had was cash, cold, hard cash. And you could move paper around, although even by doing that, you're allowing yourself to be ripped off by the feds, right? They use gold and silver, but that's not really practical. So when they say, hey, we're going to a cashless society, it's all digital now, as a libertarian, part of me is like, shit. Things that I do in cash, I can't do anymore if cash isn't a thing, right? But as long as there's a demand, if there's a market demand for money, as in a medium of exchange that has certain functional properties, that demand is not going to change or go away with a stroke of a government pen. So if it was pre-crypto and the government said no cash, the only money, the only US dollars that exist now are digital and online, and we have complete control, I would think that there would be a surge in demand for physical monetary instruments with gold and silver, which we actually saw. A quick little geek moment of historical activism. When I went to PorcFest in 2000, I think it was 10, yeah, no, 2011 or 12, in PorcFest, there were vending machines. Actually, oh my gosh, I have the vending machine from the 2011 PorcFest here in Gardenia, because Ernie Hancock of Declare Your Independence and Freedom's Phoenix.com, as he would say, is sitting right out here. And with that vending machine, I don't know, just people, maybe if people are really not, maybe if we get a big enough super chat, you can bribe me to go walk out in my sweat and white shirt and flip-flops in the snow and show you this historic relic of money evolution. It's actually pretty interesting to think of, because I never thought of it until reading this story, that there, before crypto, when we saw this constriction on the market for money into sort of digital only, that people were making gold and silver cards. There was a big market then for gold and silver as a medium of exchange, not just as a savings mechanism. Because if you're just trying to stack silver and hoard gold and silver, you don't need it broken down into tiny denominations. You don't care about that. You just want something that's practical. You know, if an ounce of silver is $20, stack it in $20 increments. No big deal, right? But we were actually, at that time, we libertarian activists, using physical gold and silver as currency. And one of the ways that we did it was actually using government money, ironically, taking it sort of out of monetary circulation. But pre-1964 dimes all have real silver in them. And what we would do is, and if I had my safe in this room, I'd open it up and show you all. But I still have a collection of dime cards. We call them dime cards, silver dime cards. And they would have one of those pre-1964 dimes in them, and a piece of it. But Ernie made a bunch of Adam versus the Man branded ones, of course. And so you print out a piece of paper with a whole little circle cut out of it. You put the dime in that circle and then laminate it. Boom. You've got a silver card. Not as practical as an actually flat paper dollar, but at least it's something small, portable, and in a relatively small denomination. And by the way, the little paper that you include wasn't just a picture with my face on it. It said, a 1964 dime is X% silver, and if silver is at this spot price, this is what this card is worth. Very cool, right? Another thing I got, there were actually gold cards that were very similar, although much more professionally produced, because they would have like a credit card, and it feels from the outside completely like a credit card. There's a hole cut out of the middle and two pieces of laminate that held, in line, flush, would hold a sliver of gold in the middle. And then people were printing extremely thin sheets of, remember, one of the great properties of gold as an industrial metal is that it can be printed into extremely thin sheets. And I still have one of these. Maybe we'll do a show and tell one of these days. So I have a sheet that's gold rolled out to be flatter than a paper bill. So you could have done all of these things with gold and silver if there was the market demand. And when there was that market demand, pre-crypto taking off, you saw it developing and these products becoming common in usage and more available, at least in the libertarian community. But now we have a digital version that's better than that and completely anonymizable. It's not anonymous, it's pseudonymous, as in you can track everything on the blockchain, but your connection to the blockchain itself can be anonymous. And so now I see this story, back to the headline, another consequence of Karuna, a world without cash. Not wanting to touch anything is having a dramatic impact on consumer habits. Amid the coronavirus crisis, Americans are abandoning cash almost entirely in favor of tap and go transactions and have finally embraced contactless and digital payment methods after years of reluctance. Well, the reluctance in part is that we don't trust you. We don't trust you who run this system that rips us all off. Like, at some level, we all know. You don't have to understand how fiat currency works to understand that we've been under this central bank sponsored by government system for who knows how long, and or okay, hundreds of years. And the rich have gotten richer and the poor have gotten poorer. Not working. So this push now to a cashless society is motivated by Corona, but it seems like, you know, a desperate attempt to protect a dying system. All right, I'm going to fix my screen here, and let's get Comment Jim Freedom back on, since we're most of the way through the show. We missed some promos. We got to do some plugs, right? Hey, you want to tell them about Cigar Federation?
Oh, I love that place. Yeah, if you're into tobacco whatsoever or nicotine, you go to cigarfederation.com. Use promo code Adam10, like it shows on the screen there, all caps, ADAM10, easiest promo code ever, and you'll get 10% off of all your tobacco smoking habits in the cigar form, the healthiest way to ingest the tobacco and nicotine.
You know, I've noticed that. I've noticed that it took me a while to, I hate to admit it, to like learn how to enjoy cigars. Is that you only take it in your mouth, and I was like, as a pot smoker, I'm like, well, then how you absorb it through your lungs? What the fuck are you? Well, there's something that I enjoy about smoking cigars, and maybe I need it. It's been a few days now. I need a cigar session. It's been too cold out to go smoke a cigar outside and watch the sunset, but maybe today I'm gonna bundle up, get super cozy. Maybe Eden, our friend Eden Donabella, is here visiting right now. We'll start a little campfire up there in our little basket fireplace and do cigars and sunset. I don't know if it'll be a video, but cool. What I enjoy is when you smoke a cigar, and people say it's for the taste. Yeah, that's part of it, and the ritual and the relaxation of it. But as like nicotine itself is not okay. I'm not going to try to give health advice here, but it's burning nicotine in your lungs is you know, it is obviously carcinogenic, and I don't want to diminish that. And I'm not here to play the card of like, well, anything that's bad needs to be avoided. No, fucking live. You know, do I want to live to be like, I'll quote Chad Daniels here, which is funny for me as a vegan saying this, but she said, I don't want to eat kale and live to be 100. Screw that. I want steak, potatoes, and beer, and I want to get the fuck off this planet. You know, like maybe I'm not that extreme, but you know, point taken, Mr. Daniels. And when I smoke cigars, though, I do absorb the nicotine through my mouth, and it's a different effect. When I smoke a cigarette, I get a headache. I get the spins. It's like through the lungs, different form, too fast, whatever. But I feel it's like a slow wash of nicotine as opposed to a punch in the head with it. And that's part of what I enjoy about cigars. And for me, the meditative relaxation effect is something I've been missing since it's been snowy here. All right, Jim, any other good comments there? Any thought? I did not expect to do that little trip down, you know, memory lane, but it's weird for me to go, fuck, Adam, you're so old. You got like grandpa activism stories from, remember when we had silver cards and dime cards and gold cards pre-Bitcoin? Yes, grandpa.
Yep. Are they making you rich? That's the question. We got a comment from Road Trip Eddie here. He says, hey, Adam Kokesh, blessings and hope you are doing good. Great show today. Positive vibrations, man, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, brother. And you know what? I know that what we do in this show is, you know, what I consider the most important kind of journalism. and there are plenty of others that are critical of, like, reporting on, stories that you're uncovering and doing research. But I think the big, in this world, everybody's got cell phones. I think we need more investigative journalists to uncover stuff. But in terms of looking at the world and taking an honest view of it and maintaining a healthy, positive, humane outlook, to me, this is the most important kind of journalism. And to me, what we do with the show, as much as I rant about, silly personal stuff here and there, and I think that's important to showing you who I am, what it is. There's no such thing as unbiased journalism. It's a lie. Everybody's got a bias. You cannot cover any story without a bias, because by covering a story, you are reflecting your bias, which says that this story is important enough to cover. Duh. So when we cover the news, I do consider this a news show. And in that sense, the most important kind of journalism in saying we're going to look at the world beyond the 24-hour news cycle of be afraid of this, vote for this, just no. We're going to take our steps back, and it's a lot more positive looking at current events, looking at news of the world when you get to do that, when you're not caught up in that 24-hour cycle. So again, I love this format. I love what we've put together. I love my producers club, but I especially love comments like that, because I'm not really perfect either. No shit. I have my down days. I have my temptations to lower vibration attitude, and it's really, it's y'all, it's this audience and the interaction, the feedback that not only keeps me going, but keeps me in that correct mindset.
Absolutely. Okay, so we got Colette Allen, our friend from across the pond. She says, I'd like to get into Bitcoin, but don't know how.
Yeah.
Can you give her the easiest answer to that?
Yes, there are a number of apps that make it very easy. What's the big? It's not Coinbase. Coinbase, I think, is the most popular, well-established, easy to use interface with a phone app that allows you to buy any crypto that, and they host all the major ones there, with a debit card or a credit card.
Yep.
I might be wrong, but it's certainly one of those. And if you just go, I want to buy Bitcoin now, okay, download the app.
On that there's also Cash App. I don't know how many people knew this, but you can literally buy Bitcoin from the Cash App right there. Somebody Cash Apps you money, you can turn around and turn it into Bitcoin.
Yes, and I hadn't thought of that because I'm so damn old. I knew Cash App before they did crypto, right? But yeah, so those are two great places to start. And I would also recommend, and this is totally by my own bias, my friend Roger Ver's website, bitcoin.com, and he's a champion of Bitcoin Cash. And I'm not going to wade into that debate. I respect honest people working for freedom on both sides of it. But he does have a great resource there at bitcoin.com. And if you want to go there for research, I use the bitcoin.com wallet for Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash for when I want to hold it like directly in a wallet. It's very user-friendly, very practical, and has good customer support. And I think that's what people are looking for right now. They don't want to throw money into the void and get some numbers on their phone that they don't understand, right? And they want that confidence of being able to use crypto like you use the US dollar, at least with the convenience of mobile banking apps and things like that. And we're on the verge of that. We're not quite, the crypto community are not quite competitive for ease of use just yet, but we're pretty close. It's not that hard to get started. So those are three great ways. If you want to jump right into an app, Coinbase or Cash App, or if you want a trustworthy informational start, bitcoin.com.
Absolutely. Awesome.
And then I got to point out one other thing in this conversation in order to answer this question thoroughly, because a lot of people are going, well, Adam, it's an app on my phone. I can hear I know my audience. A lot of them are going, but Adam, it's an app on my phone. What the fuck? You just ruined the point of crypto. How am I going to buy drugs with it if the government can track it because it's on my cell phone, right? There are ways around that too. And the main way that I would suggest is localbitcoins.com. And our friend who went to jail, who was set up by the FBI, Morpheus Titania, used to do this. But what you can do is you can purchase crypto with cash pretty much completely anonymously. I mean, barring the NSA putting together, well, they met at this time and place and they're spying on you with security cameras. But what you can do is you can use a VPN, virtual private network, on your device, phone or computer or desktop, laptop. And then you can get on localbitcoins.com and you can find someone who will meet you in person, take your cash and transmit from their phone to whatever wallet address you want. And you could have that then completely separate. You could have it on a separate device. You could have it, turned into a paper code, whatever. There are other ways to do that. And as far as I know, it's a little more complicated because you got to take those steps to protect yourself. And man, it sucks to live in a world where you don't have money freedom. I just got to point this out. How unfree are we financially? It's pretty bad. You have to go to all of these lengths just to be able to move money without the government knowing about it. That's messed up. It's a sad state of affairs. But yeah, with a little extra work, localbitcoins.com, and if you take the appropriate precautions, you can get them in your hands completely anonymously.
I know. I love what Kareem M. Mays says here. He says, "Can we send hedge fund traders 600? They should be all right."
No. Better than that. Let's make all the politicians too try to live on $600 for 6 months and see how they fare.
Right,
all right,
right.
We're supposed to cover some international news today. Let me run through an international block real quick here. We'll see how much we get to, and then we'll make a little time towards the end of the show for some calls. Super sticker, Clinton Ezekiel, $9.99, leading our contest to join the Producers Club. Thank you very much, sir. Anything else before we get to our international block, Jim?
That's it. Let's do that block.
All right. Yeah. Now that we're so far into the show, all right. No, I got to check in with the Producers Club here. Notes. Oh, apparently there was some audio issues on our last caller, but that's okay. We appreciate it anyway. So, the Seattle Times has this headline from their Nation and World section: "The Amazonian city that hatched the Brazil variant has been crushed by it." Now, if the mainstream media hadn't been bombarding us with COVID fear-mongering headlines for the last year, variant would be a very confusing word here, but I think we know what they're talking about. Another surge was coming. This time, Guideo Galvão thought they were prepared. Galvão, the lead physician in the coronavirus ward at a public hospital in the Brazilian city of Manaus, I'm probably mispronouncing half of these words, had been haunted by the wave that crashed last spring. In less than 10 days, it ruptured the city's bewildered medical system. Sick patients were turned away. The dead were piled into mass graves. So Galvão's hospital organized contingency plans. Additional beds were reserved, and a detailed schedule for opening them was created. Now, I haven't done much COVID propaganda deconstruction in a while because it's kind of boring at this point. If you have fallen for the hoax of the coronavirus, and the hoax is not that it's not real, the hoax is that it's a threat, or way more of a threat than it really is, and that it is a legitimate cause for government's massive interventions all around the world. So when I hear language like this, haunted by the wave that crashed, you go, sounds more like propaganda than journalism to me. Ruptured the city's bewildered medical system. Dead piled into mass graves. You go, wow. And that creates a certain imagery. Like we saw this with, in the Philippines, where people who weren't wearing masks were forced to dig graves for COVID, for people who died for whatever reason, but piled into mass graves. Yeah, big grain of salt required here. So they made contingency plans, had additional beds, detailed schedule, but the new surge when it came was different. The virus had mutated with a suite of alterations that probably made it more transmissible and perhaps more lethal. Perhaps. But the normal trend of viruses out there in the global human petri dish. Remember, there's a evolution applies in real time too. It's not just for the history books. Viruses evolve based on what allows them to survive and reproduce. If you're a virus and you want to be able to get to your next host, you don't want to kill your current host very fast. So viruses, as they develop, tend to get more contagious and less deadly. And I hear the perhaps more lethal part, and I go, yeah, well, perhaps you're a fucking moron. Perhaps you're an asshole. Perhaps you're an evil propagandist. But I don't live in the world of perhaps and silly statist fantasies. I live in reality. And in reality, we've been lied to for a year about this thing over and over and over again. All right, so I'm supposed to be talking about, where are we? The Amazon? Yeah, Brazil. Okay, great movie, by the way. Underrated libertarian classic. If you haven't seen the movie Brazil, look it up. This time it didn't take 10 days to overwhelm the hospital. It took 24 hours. So, yeah, just next thing we're going to be led to be afraid of is that there's new strains. Oh, geez, did I predict that a year ago? Yeah. Well, okay, most of a year ago. I think it was March last year. We started talking about, yeah, they're gonna want to keep this going as long as possible. And this is the bigger question that I have to ask, and it's a scary one, is this a unique threat that created a conspiracy of conspiracies and a surge of fear that was unjustified, that allowed the people of the world to be exploited? And what we have now witnessed and counted is the greatest singular concentration of wealth event in human history. And you don't know, yeah, Bezos, Gates, all the hedge Rothschilds and Warbucks and people you don't know behind the scenes. The billionaire class have done very well within this pandemic. So the fear is going to continue to flow, and these new strains are going to be used to keep the racket going. How long? That's the question. I don't know. My original prediction when I first saw this possibility was that it's not going to last that long, because eventually, if we have to, we'll just live in fucking bubble boy world. Okay, cool. Well, you're not going to leave the house without a hazmat suit. Well, in my house, we can do whatever we want. And in my land, we can do whatever we want. And you're going to see pockets of that. And this is going to lead to the further bifurcation of the economy. As CJ reminded me of this earlier observation, is that there is already an increasing split in the economy between the red market, commonly referred to as the white market. Libertarians tend to like to call it the red market because it's the bloody one, it's the violent one, the one sanctioned by the violent people. And then there's the black and the gray markets. And of course, even those terms are kind of racist, right? Well, white is good, black is bad. How dare you demonize the black market? Well, what is the black market? Aside from the people who bring violence into it, by its nature, it is the peaceful market, where you can engage in trade without the government stepping in and saying, give us your cut, or you go to jail. So, to the next story, also economic, COVID related, from Bloomberg via MSN.com. London's Oxford Street faces boarded up. Future retailers warn at least 1/5 of Oxford Street, London's main shopping thoroughfare, will be boarded up with no hope of recovery, and more than 50,000 retail and hospitality jobs when the latest lockdown ends, according to an influential lobby group. The new West End company, which represents hundreds of businesses in London's premier shopping and entertainment area, says 57 out of 264 stores on Oxford Street are already permanently closed. As damage to the UK economy mounts, more than 50,000 jobs will be lost in the West End by March if action is not taken soon, the group said. Well, gee, what action is it going to be? Let me remind you what Trump said about restaurants when restaurants started closing, right? Oh, don't worry, they'll go away, but they'll come back just under new management. Well, yes. Are you really surprised when they shut down businesses that are owned by individuals, small family mom and pop shops, and the next thing you know, they become parts of corporate conglomerates? No, not at all. Now, CJ, you had that image, from the story up on the screen here. And, it's a shop boarded up. It says, thanks. And it's got 4 people, I guess, representing the diversity of London, all wearing masks, faceless. I mean, there's so much. I don't want to read into this art too much, but it's a mural on a storefront, so it's got corporate approval. Help others, think positive, be calm, stay safe. Those are what the signs say. Thanks above the top. And then it's got NHS. That's National Health Service for you Americans out there. And the British overall overarching socialized healthcare system is referred to simply as the NHS. And a mural like this, faceless people being thanked. Yeah. If you're one of the people profiting off of this system, you better thank everybody for bending over and taking all this crap. Help others. Wearing a mask isn't helping others. Wearing masks increase the rate of transmission of viruses. This has been proven in lab studies. But they fooled the majority of the population into thinking that's the case. Think positive. Really? Acknowledge our huge negative fear-mongering scare campaign. You got to be afraid of the virus. But think positive. Yeah. Once you've accepted that, think positive. Be calm. Yeah, now that we've scared the shit out of you with this virus enough to let us shut down your economies, send millions into poverty, rip you all off, and make the super rich richer than they've ever been before, whatever you do, make sure that you be calm. Don't get too upset about any of that. And then, most importantly, the last note there, stay safe. Yeah. Don't acknowledge what's actually killing you, what's actually hurting people. Stay safe by our definition. Stay in the herd. Be a good little citizen. Be a good taxpayer. Be an obedient wage slave. That's safe. And now they're using street art, graffiti style, to try to push this dangerous authoritarian message. Another headline from across the pond, Washington Post via MSN.com. Britain bans flights from Dubai as influencers and TV stars who flock to the city rush to get home. We look at the costs of COVID in terms of jobs lost and pain to the economy in ways that the super class and economists like to measure. But there's a whole other layer of stress and strain and extra logistics costs associated with these mandates that simply cannot be fully accounted for. Social media influencers and reality TV stars who left Britain for sun-soaked destinations citing work purposes have been slammed by the government and by fans for maintaining opulent presences on social media, while those at home remain subject to a third nationwide lockdown as the coronavirus rages on. Talk about crab in the bucket mentality. How dare you escape the bucket? We are all crabs in a bucket, captured and about to be boiled alive. How dare you? We will pull you down. I'm not making this up. This is an actual thing. You can look up crabs in a bucket. You put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, you don't have to put a lid on the bucket, because as soon as one tries to get out, they will pull them down. It's crazy. So yeah, people have been conditioned to act like crabs, crabby people. And so what do those crabs want from their social media stars? They don't want people showing them the way out of the bucket. They want people to suffer with them and indulge their emotional insecurities. They want soothing and avoidance, not reality or a way to improve their lives. Why? Not because they're humans, but because they have been conditioned by a system that beats that humanity out of them. So it's because there's a deadline, though, now, and this is the thing. They face a desperate rush to fly home by a Friday, as in today, afternoon deadline. Grant Shopp's Secretary of State for Transport, yes, that's how they refer to it in the rest of the world, for transport, said Thursday that the UK would begin banning direct flights from the United Arab Emirates, which includes the luxury tourist city of Dubai, to its red list of countries subject to a travel ban. Now, the libertarian position on this is not open borders, it's freedom of travel, right? Freedom of movement. And recognizing that the only legitimate borders are private property borders, not government borders. And if you want to talk about how lack of freedom impoverishes the world, there are a number of economic studies that show if you removed government borders just as barriers to the free flow of labor, as in you would allow people to cross borders to work, just that, global productivity would double. The people who run the system know that that's the case. It's kind of like a player on a sports team, if we may go back to that analogy from earlier in the show, making a play that makes him look good but causes the team to lose. It is a disgustingly selfish and actually counterproductive survival strategy to do that. That's what the superclass is doing, just by maintaining borders as economic barriers today. And now, with the excuse of COVID, they are much more relevant as restrictions to freedom of travel. Global productivity, not just from COVID, but from the travel restrictions around it, may be cut in half again. And I don't measure this in economic terms. I don't count dollars and cents and widgets. I don't care. To me, when I hear global productivity could double, I go, wow. I think about this in terms of quality of life for real humans. That means nobody's going to die of preventable disease anymore. That means we can end world hunger. That means we can basically end poverty. We take care of everybody if global productivity doubled. So what does it mean with this new contraction of the economy, with the new travel bans? What does it mean? Global productivity being cut in half again? There are other economists who can measure this and say, oh yeah, this is how bad COVID has been. Okay. But what does that mean? The rich get richer, and the lives of the poor become more nasty and brutish and short. Don't kid yourself. It's not just ripping us off for private benefit. The people behind these policies are the sick sociopaths. I don't use that word lightly, who are willing to hold back humanity for their own gain. All right, now we go to Israel. Israel leads the world in time spent in coronavirus lockdowns. This is from jpost.com, the Jerusalem Post. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Israel has been in lockdown for 139 days, longer than any other country. Wow, they must be doing awesome. They must have, this is such a great policy, right? Israel leading the world in coronavirus vaccination. Oh, they're leading the world in vaccinations too. Wow, all of these wonderful policies to fight corona. Let's see how well they're doing. As well as among the highest ranking, so Israel leading the world in vaccinations is also the leader in the amount of time spent in coronavirus lockdowns, as well as among the highest ranking in the stringency of its response to the pandemic. The country scored 86.28, higher than any other country on the Containment and Health Index developed by the Oxford Coronavirus Government Response Tracker Project. The index is based on school closures, workplace closures, cancellation of public events, restrictions, public gatherings, closures of public transportation, blah, blah, blah. And I told you this was going to happen, right? Told you that it's because, I predicted this in March, I think, that because of the lack of uniformity in responses from major governments around the world, we are at some point going to be able to compare stats and see what worked and what didn't. And it's actually well before this that we know this. But next highest score after Israel, Cyprus, 84.49%. By the way, when there's so many statistics being tossed about, it's worth reminding you that Yeah, 86.75309% of all statistics are made up bullshit designed to manipulate you. Never forget that. So by comparison, Germany has been in lockdown for 88 days, UK for 79, Spain for 67. And there's a call for reopening. But how's Israel doing with all this? Despite the strict measures, Israel still has one of the highest ratios of infections per million people, with over 71,303 confirmed cases per million. In comparison, the US has reported 76.8 thousand cases per million people, and the UK 54.8. However, Israel's case fatality rate, the number of deaths compared to the number of those infected, is lower, much lower than in many other countries, including the US and the UK. Perhaps due to so many false positives, right? But, and by the way, they have this, the country with the highest number of cases per million is Andorra, 125.7 cases per million people. And that's despite Andorra having a population of just 77,000. So when I see a story like this and they're going, well, no, we did all this and it wasn't enough. Beatings will continue until morale improves. They really have us in this dangerous logical fallacy finger trap of if it doesn't work, we have to do more of it. It's not that the policies are bad. It's just that we didn't do it hard enough. AP has this headline: dangerous liaison, New Zealand virus quarantine flaw exposed. Don't worry, I promise I'll get to some international headlines here today that aren't all Karen focused. In Wellington, New Zealand, the woman who took a flight back to New Zealand was supposed to avoid all physical contact with others for 14 days as she went into mandatory quarantine. The man working at the quarantine hotel was supposed to be the last line of defense. But the two started passing notes to each other, including one written on the back of a face mask. Then she ordered a bottle of wine, which he delivered to her room. When he didn't return 20 minutes later, security manager sent to investigate found the pair together in what authorities are describing as an inappropriate encounter, one in which physical distancing wasn't maintained. The incident earlier this month, which came to light Friday, has highlighted a very human weak point in New Zealand's coronavirus elimination procedures, a country which has stamped out community spread of the virus. It is similar to lapses in Australia that may have contributed to a major outbreak last year in Melbourne. Yeah, no sexual contact because of the virus. Really, man, some of the stuff we've seen around the United States, I got to remind everybody, I got to laugh every time I think of this. In New York, the New York City government thinks that New Yorkers are so dumb that when they released their coronavirus guidelines, they had to specifically point out that social distancing, staying 6 feet apart from your fellow New Yorkers, includes not licking each other's buttholes. Yes, there was a specific directive against oral to anal sexual contact in the New York City guidelines. Is there a problem in the human element of this in New Zealand? Yeah. People don't buy your bullshit anymore. The Aviationist has this headline. Now we go to China for our China block. Chinese H-6 bombers heard on radio confirming orders for simulated attack on U.S. aircraft carrier near Taiwan. Now, why am I covering this? It is not news. It's not news. Not news. The world is dominated by a handful of giant militaries that are constantly practicing destroying each other. Oh, and you, by the way. So why is this news? It came up on Drudge Report today. And there will be a renewed wave of China fear with a Biden flavor spin attached to it. And right now, it's not be afraid of their trade, be afraid of their military. So, unsurprisingly, the package of 13 Chinese combat aircraft, including 8 H-6 bombers entering Taiwan's ADIZ last Saturday, were carrying out a mock attack on USS Theodore Roosevelt. As already reported in detail, a total of 28 aircraft, including as many as 8 PLAAF, People's Liberation Army Air Force, H-6 bombers, intruded into Taiwan's ADIZ, Air Defense Identification Zone, between January 23 and 24. Now, how many war games has the United States military conducted during this time? I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. That's classified. No, you go look at this. There's so much of this that even isn't classified. The U.S. is contingency plans for everything. And if you were a military supporting status and you thought that the U.S. military was essential to keeping you safe, then you would want them, just like you would want them to kill someone like me. You would want them to have plans to, kill everybody. It's one of those paranoid military expressions, walk into, speak softly and carry a big stick. No, it's not that. It's walk into a room politely, but have a plan to kill everybody if you have to. No, that's not. No, your bandwidth has better uses than that. And so does China's government and militaries and the Americans as well. All right, 60 Minutes overtime from CBSNews.com. U.S. intelligence officials say Chinese government is collecting Americans' DNA. See, this is a new Biden flavor of Chinese fear-mongering. And just for the details here, at least 60 Minutes has learned Chinese company BGI Group, the largest biotech firm in the world, offered to build COVID labs in at least 6 states, and U.S. intelligence officials issued warnings not to share health data with BGI. See the story Sunday on CBS. But why is this? Again, this is one of those sort of like not news stories. Y'all have heard of 23andMe, right? And all these other little genetic testing companies that tell you if you have any, predispositions to chronic illness or, give you a rough ethnic breakdown of your heritage, rough because it's not that precise of a system. There are 3 big ones. New York Times reporter sent their data or their swabs to all 3 of them and got 3 different results. You go, well, at least 2 of you aren't very accurate. But there are people collecting your DNA for libraries of DNA already in corporate America with the government. I know that my fingerprints are on file, my blood from the Marine Corps. Of course, yeah, my DNA. Hey, my brother did a 23andMe test. That's how we confirmed that we're half Jewish. We knew by heritage anyway, but genetically as well. Nice to see that. Nice to know. So, there's a covert message to this story that they won't put because it ruins the purpose. And it's, if the American government and American corporations are collecting your DNA, that's okay, because the government of the United States of America will protect you from any abuse from itself or from American corporations. But if Chinese corporations collect your DNA, that's a problem. One more Chinese headline we're finish out this block from Wall Street Journal. Speaking to the tipping of the global economic scales, China overtakes U.S. as world's leading destination for foreign direct investment. That's right. Flows into America nearly halved as COVID-19 dragged on the economy in 2020. China overtook the U.S. as the world's top destination for new foreign direct investment last year as the COVID-19 pandemic amplifies an eastward shift in the center of gravity of the global economy. New investments by overseas businesses into the U.S., which for decades held the #1 spot, fell 49% in 2020, according to UN figures released Sunday, as the country struggled to curb the spread of the new coronavirus and economic output slumped. So I'm going to refresh my screen here now that we've covered China. We've got Russia and a handful of other international stories. Oh, geez. Why are we... CJ, Winnie the Pooh? Come on, dude. We're trying to do a serious news story about China here. Okay, let's get Jim up on stage, check in with the audience before we go to, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to skim these headlines, and then we'll take our call and comments. Russian government resigns as Vladimir Putin plans future. This from BBC. Also, Wall Street Journal. Russia's Putin faces rising discontent amid Alexei Navalny protests. I'm sorry, guys. I just got my journalistic responsibilities to get this out before we go to the weekend, let you know what's going on in the rest of the world. Yes, Alexei Navalny, a longtime critic and challenger to Vladimir Putin, has been poisoned, imprisoned, censored, beat up, had offices destroyed by government thugs. And now the people in Russia seem to be hitting a breaking point around this. And, America needs an Alexei Navalny. The problem is we don't have a Putin. We have a pretty good rotating door for, government front people. And so this kind of discontent is really only the product of Putin's cult of personality out of control, which takes us perfectly to our next story from the drive.com, the war zone section. Putin has created the ultimate Bond villain's lair. Yeah, the sprawling, ridiculously opulent, and highly secured facility that is perched above the Black Sea is unlike any other on the planet. You want to see the crazy pictures? Link will be in the notes. All right, quick tour around the rest of the world here. Bloomberg politics. Italy government on verge of collapse as Renzi party quits. Ex-premier says Conte not doing enough to fix country's issues. Resignation triggers crisis with no clear solution in sight. Let's see. We go to Denmark. Dutch government resigns due to welfare fraud scandals from PSU Vanguard. Prime Minister Mark Rutte of the Netherlands resigned along with his entire cabinet on January 15. This came in the wake of an ongoing scandal where thousands of families were falsely accused of defrauding the government, according to the BBC. And I mean, you can look into this about, what specifically the welfare fraud scandal is, but it doesn't really matter. Around the world, one more story from the Netherlands. Amsterdam, Reuters, shops boarded up as Dutch brace for fourth night of coronavirus riots. That's right. In a lot of countries around the world, we are seeing the people fighting back. And these are not stories that you will get very often from the mainstream media. Of course, Reuters, Associated Press, and their catalog of current events and their journalistic integrity have to cover this. Mainstream American media, TV, newspaper outlets, they're not going to be pointing out to you, hey, you know how the rest of the world is standing up to their government's overthrowing systems because they went too far with this COVID bullshit? You should consider that here, people. No, they don't. These are very, very underreported stories. And we've seen similar upheavals throughout the world. This is really just a brief survey of what's happening now that we are about a year into COVID season. Another one from Reuters. Get out Bolsonaro, say ex-supporters in Brazil as COVID vaccines weigh. That's right. From Rio de Janeiro, one of the best named cities in the world, Maggie Fernandez voted for Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil's 2018 presidential election, attracted by the far-right former army captain's promise to shake up a hidebound political establishment mired in endless graft scandals. But after watching him jettison his anti-corruption pledges, strike pacts with the politicians he vowed to shun, and most importantly, botch Brazil's coronavirus response, Fernandez, 66, now says she was wrong to place her faith in Bolsonaro. So yeah, really deep upheavals. Now, France, little bigger, more powerful government perhaps, Bloomberg via MSN. France holds off on new lockdown, worries about unrest risk. The French government is delaying an agonizing decision to lock down the country once more, mulling options to slow new variants of COVID-19 as the current curfew is considered insufficient. Yeah, right, the curfew, because the virus only comes out after 10 o'clock. If we make sure everybody's home by 10, the virus can't hurt us at all. Right, yes. Oh my God, the curfews are some of the most insane, like just on their face. And I know some people will say, well, Adam, people going out at night, they're just stopping. Okay, if you tell people you can't go out past 10 o'clock, you think the club kids are going to say, oh, well, I guess we can't party now. No, the party in the daytime. No, it's not like, oh, yeah, sorry. President Emmanuel Macron has asked for additional analysis on the spread of the virus before deciding on any new restrictions. Government spokesman Gabriel Attal said after Defense Cabinet meeting Wednesday, maintaining the status quo is unlikely as a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. national curfew isn't doing enough, and a strict lockdown is one option being considered. And already what we're doing is working in the sense that protests are at least putting a check on government power in even COVID policies. Like they know that there's a limit. The limits of tyranny are prescribed by the tolerance of the oppressed, right? So we're going to end this international news block with some really good news, and it's from the Associated Press from Scotland. Scotland's leader vows to push for second independence vote. Scotland's leader said Sunday that she intends to hold a legal referendum on independence from the UK if she wins Scottish elections scheduled for May. Such a move would put First Minister Nicola Sturgeon on a constitutional collision course with Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who opposes another secession vote. Of course, why would he give up power if people are willingly giving it to him? Scotland voted to remain in the UK by a margin of 55 to 45% in 2014 in a referendum that was billed as a once-in-a-generation event. A new binding referendum requires the UK government's approval, and Johnson insists he'll say no. Yeah, that's not how secession works. You don't get to just keep people prisoner in a system that they don't want to be a part of, Mr. Johnson. But this is, I think, very encouraging to the libertarian worldview, specifically the one that I embrace of localization and decentralization. And as I would tell the people of Scotland and the world and any other not quite yet successful quite successful independence movement, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And until we get to the good news, that's it for headlines. Let's get comment Jim Freedom in here. Or should we do our caller first? Caller and then comments? What say you?
Just a quick couple comments, and then we can get to our caller, so that can happen. First, Domino points out the election horde should have pivoted to anti-COVID lockdown protests. That could have been an interesting move if that had gone that way, instead of them just going home upset. I think you struck a few people when you reminded them of New York's policy against oral to anal, whatever. Domino also said, ha, 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 ha. Oh, I couldn't not lick buttholes. Notice the double negative there. Philip Henderson said, what the fuck? Not a Trumpkin said, eat the booty like groceries. And Danny Finch said, 2022, quote, make sure to triple mask up today and properly secure your anus germ filtration device. Stay alive. We love you.
Is it okay to lick buttholes if I have 3 masks on? That's a typical question.
I think you have to go to the 4th for that. That's a whole new level, I think. I don't know.
Oh, man.
All right. Man. Without further ado, he's been waiting the whole show. The show's almost over. Let's get to the caller.
Quick prediction here, Jim.
Okay.
We are soon. Do you remember the movie Naked Gun?
Of course. Don't call me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley. You remember the full body condom scene? I just want to be safe.
Yeah, it could come to that.
Here's my prediction. If this COVIDiocy continues for much longer, even another few months, we are going to start seeing some kind of full body condom, some way to have whatever sexual, not quite contact people want without any actual contact or viral transmission risk. You're going to see masks. You're going to see kissing masks. They're really thin, just very, very just special plastic for you to really feel your lover's mouth and tongue even in your mouth. And something like a full body condom. Maybe even a specially designed saran wrap that you can put over your butthole and still get it licked. New York will innovate their way out of this.
I can't wait.
Good prediction, right? Safe one, I think. All right, let's go to our last caller then before we wrap up the show. Who do we have joining us finally on this beautiful Friday morning?
Greetings, Adam.
Welcome to the show. Who am I talking to?
Can you see me on the camera?
No, but that's okay. I thought you were deliberately calling in voice only.
No, we are on the camera. I would like to say greetings to you, Adam Kokesh. We've had eyes on you for a very long time. Since your dancing days and your shotgun wedding and your traveling in the No Force One.
I appreciate that.
Yes, we appreciate the effort you put forward.
Just so you know, I still can't see you.
Well, we are anonymous.
Oh, okay. It's anonymous, of course.
Yes, we never forget. Well, I should say.
Expect us.
the internet never forgets. We forgive. The internet, it does not forgive, and it does not forget. And I think one of the greatest things I've heard come from anyone, anywhere, even near the political spectrum, was when you warned people that you could not safely have a baby anywhere in the world without avoiding the registration process and the CUSIP number that is applied for the Federal Reserve System. I would tell that the callers pay attention to the Gem World link of Edward Mandell House, and it will explain everything you need to know about how we got where we're at today. Now, we have a bigger story to share with everyone that may be disturbing to some viewers. And we have sent some of that information forward to CJ. But I would like to mention upon a couple of things that you've mentioned during this broadcast. And that would be the Robinhood and those folks that bought stock through their all caps name, as they have bought crypto through their all caps name.
Yep.
And I'm sure you gentlemen are very aware of what that all caps name is, does, and continues to do. And this was to show you clearly that you do not have control over that which you think you have control over, as that is the illusion that you have bought anything, and they can shut you down, they can take it, they can sell it off. This includes your
Slaves can't own property, right? If they own you, technically they own everything you own, right?
anything and everything you have ever thought to do business with through that all caps name via that birth registration, that CUSIP number tied to it, is a total control system that's now going all digital.
Yeah.
Well, when they bought the Robinhood, they had to sign up with something. Just as you go, I was happy to hear you share the information about buying anonymously with the cryptos.
Yeah.
Because that is the avenue this has to go. The people must move away from the control apparatus of the what's in your wallet. I think you would all agree.
What's in your wallet?
So now I would like to bring everyone's attention to the SIM Corporation. And this information that's circulating throughout the social sites and social media, because it certainly has not made mainstream news. Now, trying to verify this information is the reason we came forward to veterans. Because every veteran should be looking at this information, and whether or not it's true or a misinformation campaign, it's very damaging to see this type of information out there. And I'm not sure if CJ's putting up on the screen
Yes.
some of the information that's come forward. Well, since we have spoken, that link is now gone to that corporation.
Of course.
And, well, save it, all the documents are still being circulated. These are documents that everyone needs to figure out whether or not are true. And if it is true, we have a lot of work to do.
Indeed.
Raising consciousness and awareness around the world. As our contacts of Scotland, Japan, Australia, the UK, and abroad should all be very concerned about what we're seeing in these documents and what they're speaking about. Have you had a chance to look at some of what CJ has?
I don't think so, but I believe I have my homework assignment for the weekend.
Well, if you look at the Gab, SIM Corporation Gab account, that is still active. And if you look at the conversation they're having there about what do you do with product that is low quality, we take them out on a hunt. And this is the adrenochrome processing that, according to these documents, is going on at military bases all over this country. And I would think as veterans, you'd be very concerned at the fact that they're also advertising for a new facility in 2021 on Ship Wheel Road where there's absolutely nothing in Wyoming. These things are mapped out. You'll see in these documents that someone was concerned about a grave site that was visible from satellite, mentioning that the fence line would not hide it. Again, it's about digging in and finding out everything we can about every name, as there are lists of hundreds of what appear to be sons and daughters under the age of 12. And the open conversation about the sale of adrenochrome and everything that everyone has been led to believe adrenochrome is.
Yeah.
And it would be our responsibility to look as hard as we can at why this information's been out, came out on 8chan allegedly over a year ago. I will not mention the large corporation that is said to have accidentally sent a flash drive with these documents on it. Now, there are people that are digging into this, and the more they dig, the more disturbing it seems to get. As again, they took the link down, but we have the documents. We have them backed up offline, so it's not going away. But either way, if it is true, it is certainly extremely disturbing. If it is not true, it's still extremely disturbing that this type of misinformation can be put out there. As I will remind people of Johnny Depp in the movie, was that Loathing in Las Vegas, where they were talking about adrenochrome?
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Sim Corporation, CYM Corporation. And you go over to the Sim Corporation Gab conversation, and you will see people that are talking about the insurgents, the $15,000 rewards, if there ever was a dollar. As we know that the Federal Reserve System should have never have ever been in this country, should have never been allowed to have stepped foot on this soil. And because we have slumbered, they have used us to take over the world and to create a business this heinous and this destructive to the future generations as they continue to pledge babies at local hospitals. As I said, the greatest thing I've ever heard anyone anywhere near the political spectrum ever speak about was how you cannot safely have a baby anywhere in the world and trying to avoid the paperwork. And we have done the research, and we know that there is no one granting babies to the trust, as the Constitution is in a trust. Another big secret. And you don't have to know you're in a trust. You don't even have to know that relationship exists. And this type of deceptive practices is what we see playing out every day in the lives of unsuspecting people that have no idea what that all cap name represents.
Yeah, no, I very much appreciate the call and the information. I plan on getting into this weekend, Anonymous. I do want to, point out that I am looking at having kids myself and having to weigh some of the practical challenges with vaccines and schools and having a birth in a hospital versus a home birth, avoiding the Social Security number and all of that. And I have some friends who have done this. Who have managed to have children, home birthed, no birth certificates, undocumented people, free range humans. Remember, like in the Matrix? Hey, no, I don't have that. I don't have that big plug in the back of my head. I'm a free range human, all natural. And the analogy holds very true here. And I appreciate your call to that point in particular. And it is something that we want to get into with the show more in terms of practical applications of understanding the world properly. And yeah, it has huge implications if you're going to have kids for how you protect them.
It is the only way to escape this systematic slavery that has been set up all around us.
Absolutely.
To allow the continuation of the pledging of the babies, which is now done by the hospitals. They are the grantors. They are the informant, not the mother, not the mom and dad. When the moms and dads stand in protest to not register their sons or daughters, they experience terrorism, kidnapping, and a host of other problems created by these corporate commandos. And that is where the buck stops. That is the Achilles heel of this system. The Achilles heel of this system is when you stop pledging the babies, and then you will then expose the ones that have been created. These trust relationships, this chattel property. Again, Gemworld, Edward Mendel House, is a useful link to educate someone very quickly. And I've never seen anyone read it and walk away without shaking their head and asking, where did this come from? Where does this information come from? I would like to remind folks, Edward Mendel House appointed the original Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. And he was also the Grand Master of the KKK in Texas.
Brother Anonymous, I don't mean to cut you off because I know this is very important, but we are over time, and this is a nearly bottomless rabbit hole. And I encourage people, as you go down these, that you're keeping in mind how you're using your time and what's practical, and making sure that this awareness doesn't take you down into a state of fear, because there is hope. This information, even, what matters is not wallowing in this suffering, but finding a way out of it. So, Mr. Anonymous, your last thoughts on that, please.
Stop pledging the babies.
Indeed. All right, brother. Thank you so much for the call today. I hope you'll join us Monday. I got some thoughts on those subjects. Yeah, believe it or not, we're gonna get into. But CJ, let's have a little musical break to end our Friday, shall we?
My bad, Adam. As you know, whenever Anonymous calls, it takes me for a loop here. So, but I'll tell you what. I'll do it like this. I'll start it by saying, please go to, of course, AdamVersusTheMan.com, and you can help support the show by going to Patreon. Patreon, $10 is the sweet spot. That's where you can get into our exclusive Telegram chat in the Producers Club. From there, you go back to the website, go to AdamVersusTheMan.com, and check out this store where you'll get 15% off all merchandise. And as you can see, we've got something for everybody to support and to be a part of this and to show your support in that sense. And then go over to CigarFederation.com, where promo code Adam10, that's ADAM10, will get you 10% off your order today. And then my new one at the end here is the Garden of Freedom, where Instagram page, and you can check out all of Adam's photography that he does around Gardenia, and we get to see some pretty cool imagery as his photography develops. And then don't forget to go to our public Telegram channel. That's t.me /Adam versus the man. We have a public chat and a discussion group. So with that being said, Adam,
smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day.
And with that, thank you all very much. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Marcus and Mercedes, for making this another wonderful week of Adam versus the Man. Enjoy your weekend. Mwah. Peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent to each other.